I recently sold a house that was owned by a convicted murderer.
So you are a breakdancer turned real estate mogul. All right.
Attention is really the newest form of currency. You could be the most interesting person in the world, but if no one knows your story, no one's going to want to listen.
Welcome to Haute Conversations, where the worlds of entrepreneurship, introspection, and culture converge. Created and produced by the innovative Yaga and Patrick at Unik Productions, this season promises to delve deeper into the stories of visionaries and trailblazers. Hosted by Paulina Miel, guiding us through engaging dialogues that spark inspiration and foster creativity, this season is filled with thought-provoking conversations and insights that challenge the norm and celebrate the art of innovation.
We buy another house and we renovate, we rent it out. This was before I even got my license. And when you're 16, you can't afford a house now.
As a buyer, what advice do you give me today?
So I think today, even more than ever,
Welcome to the fourth episode of Haute Conversations. I'm your host, Paulina Miel, and today we take a deep dive into the world of real estate with someone whose life journey sounds more like an action-packed novel than a biography. Please welcome the real estate maverick, Kash Alavi.
thank you so much.
Yeah,
What a
thank you for
beautiful
joining me.
introduction. I feel very flattered with that intro. It was like, I
You
feel
better
like
be.
I better deliver now. So
Of course.
congratulations on the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's talk about you because you are the focus after all. Take me back. It says you have an action-packed past. So talk to me about your childhood, where you came from, and how you have arrived to where you are now.
Yeah, so a bit of a roller coaster journey. I was born in Iran. At the time, it was a family of 5. I have 3 siblings, sisters. And after the revolution, my parents decided to pack up and leave. And we were refugees in Europe. And so we lived in refugee camps and we had changed our names and for
wow.
political reasons.
Yeah.
And the family was split up during these journeys coming to Europe. And we were living in refugee camps for about 2 years. And we used to share like a small room for the whole family. My little sister was born in Europe, so we were a family of 6. And my parents decided we're living there. We don't have real names.
Yeah.
Everybody's got different identities. It doesn't make sense. So they decided to pick up and leave for a better life in Canada.
At that point, in a refugee camp, did you actually ever think like, I picture myself in a beautiful real estate corner office with a wonderful view? Like, did it
No,
ever
not
cross your
even
mind?
No, not even close. I was just a little kid.
Yeah.
And, you know, like moving country to country, changing cultures, changing languages, making new friends.
Yeah.
It was all so difficult that your brain is thinking of the day to day.
How old were you?
So I left Iran when I was 3 years old.
So
I was a baby.
but the last time you were in a refugee camp, before you guys moved?
So yeah, we came here when I was about 10. So for about 7 years, we were going through this journey. And
I'm with you. I came here when I was 10 for Poland, so I get
really?
it. Yeah.
Okay. So very similar stories.
Better life.
Yeah, and a lot of people share the same stories too.
Yeah.
I mean, most Canadians are immigrants through different avenues, but everybody's struggle is to them was a mountain to climb. So it doesn't matter what the story is. And for me, it was difficult, but at the same time, people ask you, oh, it must have been so hard. You know, you guys were living in a refugee camp.
Yeah.
And I tell them, I'm like, because I was a kid, to me, it was beautiful memories because I was with the family all day long.
Yeah.
My parents
You
weren't
have
working.
no choice.
Yeah, and it was great because we get to bond.
Yeah.
We get to spend the time together. We were there with other families who had struggled the same. You really learn to be humble. Fortunately for me, I was still very young. I didn't have those responsibilities, but my parents had to go through a lot to bring us to that point and then further out, trying to make a better life to come to Canada, right? So my dad had purchased fake passports.
Really?
And we came here in separate groups under different aliases.
Where did you come to Toronto right away?
We came to Toronto right away.
Okay.
So my mom came with my 2 sisters, and then my oldest sister followed by herself months later. And then I was left with my dad for quite the longest time. And I was getting so bored because my dad's not the most interesting person. I wanted to be with my mom. You know, everyone loves their mom. Anyway, so we eventually get to Canada and we claim refugee status. And then my parents divorce. So it was like the hardships that we had gone through,
Yeah.
it just put a strain on the family.
Oh, for sure. You go through so much together, and then all of a sudden you get to a new place where there should be more freedom, and all of a sudden there is freedom because, boom, parents are going their separate ways.
Exactly,
So
yeah.
how did that affect you?
It was tough at first.
Yeah.
It kind of left me without monitoring, nobody to guide me.
Yeah.
You know, new country, new language, new, again, friendship, new school. And all of a sudden, you don't have the same family support that you were used to, where you had the whole family nearby and close to you. So it was difficult at first. I wasn't doing so well in school. I was skipping
Yep.
and not really attending school. And, you know, you feel kind of what's the point of life, right? And feeling a little bit lost. And then I found breakdancing.
Really?
Which was, yeah.
Okay, so you are a breakdancer turned real estate mogul. All right.
So actually, the breakdancing has a huge part of my life because through breakdancing, first of all, it saved me because I could have gone this way where it was hanging out with the bad kids.
Yeah, of course.
Because I wasn't going to school. I
There's
could have
always
done-
a fork in the road at some point, right? And you got to make
Exactly.
either the right choice or, well, the wrong one, right?
Exactly. And then the first time I saw breakdancing, I was like, wow, that's really cool. And how I admired the person for breakdancing and the
Yeah.
way they moved, and everybody around them was like googly eyes watching them. And I really wanted to learn. It's one of those
Yeah.
things that's like contagious. So we started skipping school and going breakdancing. So I'm like, thank God it was a healthy alternative, right? So
Yeah.
breakdancing got me into the habit of putting on a show, entertaining people. And I noticed the attention it was getting me.
Yeah, that's where
And,
you got your spunk, your real estate spunk.
Exactly. And then later on, that would kind of translate to knowing how to entertain, which then brought me here today because
Yeah.
I'm making content for my real estate business, which is doing really well and getting a lot of attention and opportunities.
Congratulations.
Thank
I'll
you
say
so much.
congratulations along the way, but congratulations.
Thank
My
you, thank
first
you.
one.
Thank you.
Okay, so dancing, at what point do you stop dancing? And then you say, okay, listen, another fork in the road. This is the road I'm going to take.
So I don't actually stop dancing till later. But what happens is that I skipped school for about a year and then school kicked me out. They said, you're not taking it seriously, which, to be honest with you, I think the schooling system there failed because
Yeah.
if they looked into me and said, this kid is not a troublesome
Yeah, it's
kid.
not a bad kid.
He's not a bad kid, but he's
Talented.
He's
Like, he
talented.
just needs to
he's got-
refocus.
Exactly. He needs a bit of guidance.
Yeah.
And at that time, I didn't have the right guidance or the people around me to help me get to the right path. So school kicked me out because
Yeah.
I wasn't taking things seriously. And so it forced me to go to my second option because
Yeah.
at the time I was going to French school to continue my French studies. I went to this French Catholic school and they accepted us. It was me and my friend. We both got kicked out at the same time. And so things kind of turned around there. Smaller school. The teachers and the counselor there was a
Gave you
bit
the
more,
attention.
gave us a bit more attention, gave us
No, sometimes that's all you need, really, right? To kind of get you back on track, for sure.
Yeah, you just need someone to listen to you and say, "Hey, you're not screwed up.
Yeah.
You're not messed up."
Yeah, it's super important.
Yeah, and you could still make it in life. Because sometimes when you fall back, you think, "This is it. That's it. I'm done. I can't,
Yeah.
get back up and do."
Well, you
do
can
better."
get into, that's the thing, you can get into a rut and then you don't have the help to get you out, right? And that's a whole other situation, a whole other problem, right? And then you get in the wrong circles and off you go.
Exactly. And the great thing was it was a small school, so we got to like really make good friends. That's where I met my wife now. And so things turned around for me and we were still breakdancing, but the breakdancing at that school made us super popular. So we would go on stage and all the kids were like, "Oh my God, that's so cool." So then after school, they wanted us to teach them and so on. And then fast forward, I graduated. I moved in with my dad at 16 to be closer to the high school.
Yeah.
And I had no space. So I was living in the same room as my dad, my two other sisters there. And I kept bugging my dad. I'm like, I just want a house. I really just want a house so I can have my own space. I can have a hobby place. I can break
Yeah.
dance in the basement. And so he's like, go work and if you can come up with some cash, we'll buy a house because I can't afford it. And we did exactly that. So that summer, I found a job.
It's funny how certain situations just kind of force you in the right direction.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you need to struggle before you can kind of appreciate and find your way, right? So I found a good job because I spoke French. I worked my ass off and I didn't have any sort of obligations or debts. So everything I made, I accumulated. And then it motivated my dad and my sister. And we just kind of pulled our money, bought a house. And that's where my real estate kind of career started, even though I was still 16 and still in school at that time. But it still was the first thing
That's so crazy. I mean, like, what a way to start at 16.
And it was only because I really just wanted space. refugee camp, living in the same room with my whole family.
Yeah.
Then over to this small apartment where I live with my mom. Then moving in with my dad, living in the same room as him. And he would be snoring at night and it would drive me crazy.
I can relate.
Yeah. So
I.e.
really, really
boyfriend.
tough beginnings. Tough beginnings.
Yeah.
It got to the point where we got the house and I felt really this sense of freedom. But then my dad's like, hey, you're not free. You bought the house. Now we need to pay the mortgage. And I was like, oh,
Who's
I didn't
gonna
think of
do
that.
Oh.
So then I'm like, I want to go to university and I don't want to have to work all the time and I want to continue my school. So I got this bright idea. I'm like, let's renovate the basement and rent it out, which we did. We went to the Saturday school at Home Depot, learned how to renovate, made a shit ton of mistakes. Like it was like a botched job, but
Yeah, but I feel like a great place to start.
yeah, it was.
If you're going to screw up a bunch, right?
Exactly. Like screw it up on your basement, you can always figure it out. We brought in tenants. The rent was paying off the mortgage. And that's where I'm like, wait a minute. This makes sense. This is great. So I told my mom, I'm like, let's do it again. And because at that time, the house had increased in value. We pulled out the equity and then did it again. So throughout this whole time, I'm still working at my first job and I'm getting promoted. I speak French. I'm being very ethical. I'm putting a lot of time and effort. I'm doing overtime. And they promote me to a manager position. And I'm like the youngest person with like people under me. Eventually, we buy another house and we renovate, we rent it out. Then I'm like, why don't we buy and flip? And we kind of got ourselves into this real estate thing. And this was before I even got my license.
That's
Until,
incredible.
it was a great blessing.
Everything set you up for winning, right? From a kid who ended up in a camp. Now, Canadian story, right? Up and coming.
Yeah, and I
like
feel like
underdog story, really.
Exactly. And I feel like it's tough because nowadays people don't have these same opportunities.
No, it's
how
so
do you
much tougher.
come in? Yeah, when you're 16, you can't afford a house now.
No.
Yeah. So, but I was still working at Bell like 8 years in, and I had worked my way up to a manager position for a production sector of Bell because at that time, internet wasn't fast enough to deliver like streaming.
Yeah.
And we were selling satellite space to live events. So like WWE or like opera events from New York to the movie theaters, like we would deliver that.
Yeah.
And then internet came in and killed the whole department. And I got a package and they let me go. And I was like, this is my calling. I got to go full time in real estate.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is what I did. And then I came into real estate. Now I've been doing real estate for about 17 years, full time. Do a lot of transactions. I'm in the Remax Top 100. I have received many accolades, Lifetime Achievement, Hall of Fame. But the one thing that really set me apart is when I started making content on social media.
Well, you stepped out of the box, right? Which is kind of risky.
Very risky.
Obviously, because not everyone's going to take to that kind of content, right? And you're doing something completely different. So did that actually set you apart and set you forward?
And that's the thing, because at that time when I first started making content, the realtors weren't really making content like that. They were just doing their listing presentations. Welcome to such and such house. My name is whatever.
Yeah.
And it was boring. I would watch it and say, not everybody is buying or selling at any given time. They don't want to watch these videos. They're only interested if they're interested in buying at that moment. So I said, how do I capture the attention, retain it? And then when they're thinking of buying or selling, they would think of me. And before that, I was very interested in making videos. Like I remember back when we were breakdancing, we had pulled our money and bought a camera. It was one of those old DV cameras, and we would record ourselves breakdancing. And then after that, we would record ourselves doing pranks on people and so on.
Like you were so ahead of the game in this.
Yeah, like me and my friends.
That's the thing. You literally just got in as all this was starting, which is like the perfect time to get into it. Yeah.
Almost too early, because I speak to my friend about it and I'm like, if YouTube was around when we were making those prank videos, we would have been at like 1 million followers plus today for sure.
Yeah.
Those pranks were really funny. Anyways, I had that love for movie making, video making, and then I'm like, Instagram's here. Why don't I just go ahead and make these short form comedy skits that I like to do, but tie it back into real estate?
Okay.
And at first I would make them, so like creative ads.
Yes. I've seen them. They're very creative.
Thank you.
Funny, quirky. You have some accents. They go a long way.
Yeah. So I poke at the Iranian culture because I'm Persian.
Yeah.
At first I was like, this is going to make me lose business, but it's okay because my core client base knows who I am.
Yeah.
Knows the experience that I have, knows what I can bring to the table, how professional I am.
And you have the space to try something new. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, you still have your clientele, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so I put myself out there. And at first, I noticed there's a pattern. Every time you put yourself out there, first you get hate. you get questioned. People are like pointing fingers at you. They're like questioning, is this a professional image?
How did
Should
you deal with that?
I just blocked it out. I know that the greatest people out there, designers, actors, or leaders, they have to pave a new road. And in order to do that, they're going to have to face a lot of criticism. And so if you can stick to your vision and not let it be bothered by what the critics are saying, that you will eventually get to where you're headed.
I think it's because of your past. That's why you were able to handle it so well. Because, you know, a lot of people get hate on whatever, YouTube and social media. And that's very hard to deal with. But I think because of your past, you were able to handle it so well that you were like thriving.
Yeah. And always like growing through those circumstances, it makes you feel like you're like a second-class citizen because you're going to a new country every time where it's not your first language. You don't know people there. You don't have the confidence. So being able to pass through that and still become something gives you this confidence that you can achieve things. And so when I came into the real estate industry and I was working, I was doing really well before I started making content. But when I wanted to make content, I said, I could just be who I am, be myself. And those who appreciate me will come to me. Those who don't can just F off, right?
Yeah.
And it was exactly that. So we went through a period of criticism. I see a lot of people were enjoying the content.
What was your biggest post? Like the most popular where you thought, really, this one? Tell me you were breakdancing while selling a house.
I've done some breakdancing videos.
Oh, you have?
Yeah. I've done
awesome.
The first ever real ad that did really well was a video of me, you know, trying to get to a client who called me to show a house, and my car breaks down. And then there's a little girl on a tricycle and she's like, you look stupid. And I look at her and I'm like, I'm not stupid enough. And so I trade my watch and my car and I take her tricycle and I'm trying to get to this house.
Hilarious.
And the tagline was whatever it takes to get to my clients or whatever it takes to get
Brilliant.
Yeah, and it was different and it did well and people were like, oh wow, this is really good. And I try to tie it back somehow to the professionalism, the real estate and so on. And then from there on, I just started kind of pushing the envelope. And today, like some of my newest content is more risky, out of the box. It makes people perk up and go, whoa, did he just really say that or do that?
Yeah.
But I think you need to be on edge like that. You need to be against the grain to be noticed. And attention.
Well, nowadays you do, right? Because maybe back in the day, it could have just been like a little sing along or whatever, or sing a song or, you know, do silly thing and then it's out there. But nowadays, so many people are doing such crazy things that then again, you have to step out of that box again to make yourself even more noticed.
Yeah, exactly. And real estate is a perfect example because there's like 90,000 realtors and everybody's dressed the same. Everybody speaks the same. Every video is the same. So how do you expect someone to remember you? You really have to step out of the box, be against the grain. And then that's when you're going to make noise because attention is really the newest form of currency. If you don't get attention, you're not noticed, you're not going to get opportunities.
Yeah.
Like I am here on this show, I'm sure because of the content that I'm making. So,
for sure.
Yeah, so it's setting you apart and it's getting you noticed.
Yeah.
You could be the most interesting person in the world, but if no one knows your story, then no one's going to want to listen.
Yeah. And sometimes it just, you know, you need to be more relatable to people as well, right? They're like, oh, wait, my story is similar to this guy's and look how far he's gone, right?
Exactly.
Or he's come.
Yeah.
Do you have people that, you know, never believed in you and you have some like holiday cards that you send with all the awards you've won?
Yes and no.
Like all your adversaries, you're like, here you go, guys. Like
So there's only one person that comes to mind when you say the person who doesn't believe in you. And it was my grade 12 science teacher. And this bastard failed me even though I was really trying. Like I remember we did one project with my friend and we spent the whole weekend doing this DNA, like whatever it was, a model of the DNA. And then when I handed it in, he's like, I know you didn't work on it. I'm like, what?
Really?
So he failed me on that course. And that's the only person I can see. But otherwise, a lot of people did believe in me. Like even my principal at that school was like, I know you're going to do great things. So I didn't know it myself.
Yeah. Oh, no, sometimes that's all it takes. Like I remember, were you ever in the high school yearbook as like, you know, the person that's the first to be or do whatever, like in a yearbook?
Yeah, I think I skipped the yearbook picture because I was like very like, you know, introvert. I didn't like my pictures taken or whatever. I was just a weird child growing up.
Yes. No, it's like most likely to.
Yeah.
But you weren't there.
Yeah, no,
well,
I wasn't there.
Screw those people.
We don't need that. Yeah. I think there's a lot of different things because today we inspire people. A lot of realtors do reach out and they want to learn the video content making. They want, the one thing that I'm also getting asked a lot is, how do you come up with these ideas?
Yeah.
How do
Like,
you
what
have
is
the
your
guts?
process?
Yeah. It's one thing coming up with the ideas, but it's also feeling free enough to let go, to just do whatever you want to do. We get put in a box when you go through school, when you go through training, when you go to the real estate program, when you go to university.
Yeah.
They tell you how to be, how to act, or how you should be thinking, because that's how the textbooks are made.
Right.
But if you think out of the box, it's very difficult. So like by the time you come to your career, you've been conditioned to think a certain way because that way is the right professional way. When I started making funny content,
Yeah.
people were like, are you not scared it's going to make you lose business?
Yeah.
And I go, as a realtor, if I'm doing 100 transactions, I'm very happy. So if I can make videos that get hundreds of thousands of views, if not millions, if I get even 1,000 people that love me, that call me for business, I'm happy with that.
Yeah. And even if you lose one or two, okay, you gain 2, 3 others that
Exactly.
love your content.
Yeah. And you can't really please everybody.
No.
At the beginning, I would get upset when people would leave bad comments. But overall, I think it's been very positive. The feedback's been good. And it's helped me get a lot of opportunities, lots of connections. I've met some celebrities. I've had dinner with Raekwon. Just like little things like that that I would have never imagined. Like I grew up listening to Wu-Tang as a kid.
Oh, come on.
And then I get to sit there and have dinner with him, which was like incredible.
Yeah. Is there someone that you actually look up to in your career?
I would say, yeah, Patrick Bet-David. I don't know if you know him from Value Entertainment. So he grew up as an insurance broker, but he also started making content. He has one of the largest podcasts. Like I think he's behind Joe Rogan, but he's interviewed such greats like Kobe Bryant and politicians and businessmen and Elon Musk and all these
Okay,
people.
so that's in a way your hero.
Kind of, yeah. If I had to compare
ish.
myself and say this is who I want to be like, I would
Yes.
say it would be him. He's Persian. He's got a nice family. He's got family values, which is very important to me. I've got 6 kids.
I was just going to say, like, how do you balance the 6 kids, very busy family life, I'm sure, with your real estate?
Yeah, so I have an incredible wife. Like today,
Teamwork.
teamwork is a big thing. I was telling you earlier, my kids picked out my accessories. I'm wearing my Spider-Man watch, the Beetlejuice socks. It's very important to have a harmony at home between my wife and I. My wife still works, even with 6 kids, although she hasn't been back to work within the last 10 years much because of the mat leaves.
Yeah, of course.
But the kids take away some of your energy, but they also give you energy back because you have them to work for. They excite you on a daily basis.
Yeah.
They bring up my mood every morning when I see them. I make them breakfast every morning.
I was going to say, what's your morning routine like before, you take off?
Oh, it's crazy. I drag myself out of bed 6:30. I got to be up before the kids wake up. And then I start making waffles. I make waffles from scratch. We try to stay as healthy as we can at home. No juices, no sugar, no things like that.
A good dad.
Yeah, I try to be.
Yeah.
And so I think the first thing to do is to feed them well. So as I'm making, they one by one wake up and they sit there by the dining table and they ask all sorts of questions. And some mornings, if I don't have enough energy, they could drain you, right?
Yeah, of course.
We do place a lot of stuff on the dining table for them to get distracted with, like coloring stuff, puzzles, Legos. And once I feed them, my wife makes some lunches and then I hit the gym. I go to the gym. Fitness is very important.
Is this every day?
Almost every day.
Wow.
4 to 5 days a week, I go to the gym. I got a personal trainer. He kicks my butt. And I feel like that push in the morning to get the kids fed and then to get my workout in sets the tone for my day. It kind of initiates that standard. Like I've got this highest standard for who I want to be. And then I can deliver that service and that same quality of communication to my clients. And then I head out. And then sometimes it's go see a beautiful $7 million home.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it's running around the city showing condos. I manage my team. I have a small team. We work out of Beverage. Every day is a crazy up and down roller coaster.
So you mentioned $7 million home, this and that showings. What advice can you give us in today's market? Like, let's get into the itty gritty and that.
So today's market's a very tough market.
The economy is crazy. Really, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
That's where you hit it on the nail because the hardest part right now is to predict what's going to happen, even like the next few weeks, because 2025 is the craziest year. We have a federal election.
Yeah.
Trudeau just stepped down. Trump just came in. He's threatening tariffs and all sorts of things. So there's so many unknown factors. But the truth is, If you need a house to live, it's better than renting. It's proven. You got to own your piece of land or your house or your condo. And so it's not necessarily that you have to invest, but at least that first home, you got to have somewhere to live.
Okay.
And you got to be really wealthy nowadays for Canadians to even own that primary home. So unfortunately, it's not attainable for everyone. But regardless, I think today, even more than ever, if you can get in the market, you have to, because it's going to only get harder and harder.
You
to get
think
in.
so? So as a buyer, let's say I'm the buyer, what advice do you give me today?
Get into something that you can afford, because with these rates going up and down, some people got in and then their mortgages doubled and then they got into a tough situation where they had to unload. Having to unload in a tougher market is usually very bad. You want to time. It's like buying a stock and then being forced to sell it when it's down. It's not a good thing.
So when I was a seller, what would you tell me? Don't do it. Don't sell right now.
As a seller, every person has a different circumstance. Why are they selling? Are they upgrading? Are they downsizing? Are they selling because they need to liquidate and get the cash out of the house?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you're going to need to live somewhere. So either you pay rent or you pay mortgage. And typically speaking, they're pretty on par. So most people I know that are renting, so you could be renting a one-bedroom downtown condo for $2,800, $3,000 a month. And $3,000 a month will cover you a mortgage of like $600,000-$700,000 a month. So rent is not any better. The only issue is that at any given time, your landlord can kick you out, or that you'd have to move for whatever reason.
Well, listen, there's definitely horror stories when it comes to renting and being a tenant and not getting out, even when you want people to get out. So do you have like a nightmare story that you could go to that kind of pops into your head where you go, oh my God?
I got tons of stories. I just recently sold a house that was owned by a convicted murderer.
Okay.
Yeah, I have stories where tenants were not moving out of the house that we sold, and it became a long battle where, they dragged it through courts and the owner had to pay them to leave. So the Canadian rules, like the Ontario rules for landlord and tenants, is very biased to the tenant. And it's very difficult because tenants sometimes cannot pay rent for 8 months to a year before the hearing is.
It takes forever.
And the landlords are losing their shirt during that process. So it's tough market to be an investor. There's too many obstacles. Like Trudeau and the Liberal government has placed so many of these taxes and increased capital gains and so on. It's not attractive enough. It doesn't bring investors to the city or to the province or even to the country for that matter.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are taking their money and they're going elsewhere, like the US or overseas. And
do you think that's going to change?
I hope
soon?
so. I hope so. And the reason I say I hope so, because
I just want to get your prediction.
So if the elections happen, if the Conservatives come in for sure, it's going to change where the Conservatives will try to boost the real estate market, not just real estate, but also the economy, and attract investors here. Because at the moment, the way it is with mostly because of the taxes, no investors want to set up their company here or their business here or invest in real estate and do big, large development deals when the returns are so slim, when the taxes are so high, and the red tape is so many, right? So it's not attractive. Where you can go down to the US and do the same thing with less cash, get higher returns and less red tape. This is the issue, because if you're pushing away investors, people who are not spending on the city or on the country, your infrastructure is slowly going to lack. And the city is going to be behind and less jobs are going to be created. And it has a chain reaction. And that chain reaction, it doesn't show itself right away. It may take months, if not years.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't change today, over the next few years, we may be living in a city that really has nothing to offer, no employment, and a lot of people are going to be on government help or subsidy. Like even the tariffs, if they come in, they were saying that you could lose up to 500,000 jobs. That would be detrimental to the people of Toronto. And
Okay, so let's now switch gears, get into some fun questions. I just want the viewers to get to know you on a more personal level. So I'm going to ask you a bunch of off-the-cuff questions. We call them the HOT round of questions. Okay, ready?
Yes.
Guilty pleasure.
Oh, eating. I indulge. On my Instagram, I put like my workout routine, my healthy food, but then at night sometimes I'm like munching on pastries and food and things that I'm not supposed to be
Everyone
eating.
that's been here says the same thing.
Food?
They're like, sugar. No, there's sugar. Sweets at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So what do you look forward to at the end of a very long workday?
to put the kids to sleep
Yeah.
and to like literally put my feet up for an hour before I pass out. That's like my biggest like thing to do to relax and unwind. I like to meditate. I do it in an indirect way just to kind of clear my mind. Breathing exercises. I used to love to read, but I just don't get that opportunity anymore. I'm so busy throughout the day. So I listen to like ebooks. But if I had to simplify the answer, it would be just to kind of meditate and relax before going to sleep.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you recharge?
I take care of myself a lot. So,
Okay.
you know, my wife knows that
Yes.
every so often I have to go to my massages. I'm a self-care person. I like to take my vitamins and all that stuff. The gym recharges me a lot. I used to run a lot. Since the winter started, I haven't as much. I did my first marathon, 10K last year. So all of those things recharge me. Having a little bit of meditation, gym, and self-care, doing the routines that make me feel good, and sleep.
Favorite word and cringeworthy word or characteristic?
My favorite word, and it sounds corny, but it is love. You know,
That's what I was going to say, actually.
really?
Yes.
No way. So I call my wife Love. We call each other Love. I always tell my kids I love them on like an hourly basis. When I see them as we're talking, I'm like, you know, I really love you. And I could see the glow in their face. I use the word love a lot, like when I'm trying to describe things or the content that I'm making or the video that I want to make. So I feel like love is a major theme in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do this, for me, it's like love and light. Even on here hosting, I always say sending love and light to you all, just because it's so important. I feel like we need to be uplifted.
Yeah.
So love it is, I guess. Okay, now cringe-worthy word or characteristic.
You know, when I do my cringe videos, because I'll make satire videos.
Yeah.
I do the accent. So the characteristic that I know to be very cringe
Yes.
is when you do that Persian accent.
Can you do the Persian accent?
Uh,
Like, do it, come on. The videos are so good. Not to put you on the spot, but just like a little something.
well, Baba, if you come to my house, we can have some kubi there together, and I can show you how you can buy the real estate without any money down, because I can make you paperwork that would be very good for your mortgage.
Okay, perfect. I purchase a house and I get some food. Done and
Yes,
done.
yeah.
You're my real estate agent.
Yes, yes. If you tell your friends to call me, you get a referral cut.
Your favorite beverage. Beverage of choice. Your poison.
Okay, so I really like dur, which is a yogurt soda. It's a Persian yogurt soda. Some people are disgusted by the smell and taste of it.
Really?
Yeah, I've given it to my...
Yogurt soda.
Yeah, it's a Persian drink.
Yes.
That's my lunch thing. Like, I love having these extravagant Persian meals at lunch because I get so hungry. And that's my thing. But if I'm hanging out, my beer of choice is either Creamore or it's Miller. And then my alcohol of choice is bourbon. Which,
Okay,
if the tariffs come in, bourbons are going to be hit hard.
I know. I'm already missing the California wines. I'm just saying. Celebrity Hall Pass.
Celebrity Hall Pass.
I did want to ask that
Oh,
one.
wow.
Because I'm like, you're like my wife, my kid.
Yeah.
I feel bad asking this question. But not like it's going to happen. It's just like,
Yeah. You know what? I don't know. I go with my old one, maybe. I don't know. It's tough to say, like, maybe like a J-Lo or something, because my
Okay.
wife's Spanish and I'm into the Spanish kind of look.
Okay,
and
there we
the
go.
flavor, yeah.
That's okay. Favorite person and why?
My wife.
Okay.
And she's always been supportive. She never judges me. There's been times where I've made mistakes and she's kind of pulled me out of it. She's always been very supportive. I don't know how to explain it, because with all these kids and everything, when she sees I'm stressed and I need that time or I need to focus, she clears the way for me. And I don't think I could have done what I do or had the size of the family that I have without her. So,
Yeah, of course.
and she's the person that she knows everything about me. Like, I don't have any secrets, and it feels really comfortable having that rock, you know. That's
Well,
someone that can,
beside a very strong man is always a very strong woman, right?
yes, that's a very good point.
Yeah. What is your biggest fear and what have you done to overcome it?
That's a good one. Because my biggest fear growing up was always being alone. What I did was have a big family. So
Yes.
even if some of my kids don't like me, I'm sure the odds
One of
are...
them is bound to like you.
Exactly, yeah. But I was truly afraid of being alone and not having people who genuinely cared about me. And I think it had to do with also moving from country to country. So never having the strong relationships that were really like bound and having those bonds with people.
Well, you weren't in one place for long enough ever, right? You were just always moving around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
We're
then,
moving
and then-
continents.
Exactly. And then having your parents kind of divorce and be busy with their own issues, you just feel kind of alone, right? So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have so many kids. And thankfully, my wife did too, was A, because we came from a larger family that was always broken up throughout the process.
Yeah.
And B, it was that love, having people around you that you can rely on and stuff. So
What advice would you give your younger self?
this isn't the end, because that's the issue. I think most people always think their current circumstance is their identity. And that's the issue, is that people have to realize our lives are a full book. And, there's ups and downs. You can't compare your chapter to someone else's.
Yeah. Which is so hard, because even in social media, you have no choice, but you're constantly comparing yourself to other people.
Well, social media has made it even more complicated. Yeah. And that's another advice I would give to people, is like, don't really take it for what you see on social, because it's the polished, it's your best, it's your highlights.
Yeah.
I do like to share some of the obstacles and challenges that I'm facing on my Instagram stories.
Oh, you do? So not only the fun, quirky
some
out of the
of
box things, but also some serious moments.
Some serious stuff, but I don't really go too deep.
Yeah.
You don't want to expose everything.
Sure.
For example, I've been dealing with this psoriasis breakout since Christmas. And I'm having these skin issues that I'm trying to figure out what they are. And they consume your thoughts, they consume your mind, and they kind of place
stress.
you back. It's stress, yeah. And, there's a lot of challenges going to doctors, finding out what's happening. Is it an allergic reaction? Is there something that triggers it? Things like that. I don't put all of that on social media. People should also understand that, like, everyone's going through challenges. And just because they're not putting it out there doesn't mean that you're alone with your challenges.
Yeah.
So, and everyone's challenges are as big for them. If I'm dealing with psoriasis, it's, for me, is as big as maybe someone who's dealing with a bigger issue, or vice versa.
Favorite place in the world thus far?
You mean to travel, or just favorite place to be? Because my favorite place is home. Just anywhere that I'm comfortable, just unwinding. But favorite place to travel,
like bucket list, let's say, or somewhere we have been and would love to go.
I would love to go to Italy, because I know my wife wants to go there too, and we share this romantic fantasy of just us being there and sharing the food and the wine and being by the coast and so on. But we don't know how realistic that is with 6 kids. Who's going to babysit the little one?
Yeah, but I think you're doing okay. I think you can handle it, I always say, like, listen, you never know what's going to happen tomorrow.
True.
So just do it. Don't wait. If I could give everyone a piece of advice, don't wait. Just go for it.
Yeah. I've been to a lot of different countries in Europe. I haven't been to Italy. I haven't been to Greece. So that area I would love to explore. And I'm waiting for my wife so that we go together and we can kind of enjoy, the sunsets and the peace and tranquility. We don't want to go with the kids.
Bring back the romance. What have you let go of in the past year? And what do you look most forward to in the new year?
I think I've let go more, and this has been a process. It's not like last year I've let go, but I've let go what people think of me. It's been a process to shed it. I used to care a lot what people thought of me.
Do you think you were a people pleaser?
100%. I was a big people pleaser, and I learned that you can't please everyone. It's just some energies just don't drive. So like, if you have someone that doesn't get along with you or who you are and how you resonate, then you can't fix that. And there's no point of putting all your energy to trying to fix that one relationship at the expense of others. So that's a very important thing for me, to just let go, be who I am, attract like-minded people. And what I'd like to attract, you said, for next year?
What you look most forward to in the new year?
What I look most forward to is more growth. Growth comes in many different ways, and connections like this and opportunities that come along that are different than what I'm used to, that give me a little bit of that fear of doing something different. I like that. Stepping out of my comfort zone, becoming comfortable, being uncomfortable.
Would you consider, teaching people how to do what you do, like step out of the box and do something different for themselves to gain the growth?
Yes, actually, I'm starting a new series on my social where it's like being comfortable in your own skin. And it'll be different activities and things, the journey of becoming comfortable with who you are. And so
cool.
It'll help people to follow along. And I'm sure a lot of people are struggling with this, especially with social media, because you see other people living this polished life and they think that they're not sufficient. So there's exercises you could do to really build that confidence with who you are as a person.
Yeah.
And once you can break out of that shell, you can accomplish a lot more. Because many times you can accomplish whatever you set your mind into, but most of the time people don't set their minds to bigger goals because they don't believe that that's who they are. They don't believe that they can achieve that because they place themselves within an identity that other people have kind of placed them in. So become comfortable with who you are, build that confidence, and be able to break that barrier. That would be what I want to teach others.
Kash, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Been my pleasure.
Thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom.
Thank you so much for having me.
And your adventures, taking over the city, becoming successful.
Thank you.
You should be very proud of yourself. I'm proud of you. I just got to know you. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. It's been a pleasure, and hope we can come back again, maybe in the future when I'm CEO of something.
Yes, let's do it. Let's do it.
Thank you.
Thank you to our viewers and listeners. Please make sure to like and subscribe, share with your friends so we can get more inspirational, incredible guests such as Kash next time.
Thank you.
Sending love and light to you all. Remember, stay hopeful.